is live at local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
Let's do a show! Let's do a show right now. What are we doing?
This is Kramer. Kramer.
Rachel, are you stealing my good pen? Every time I have my good pen, I lose it. Somebody steals it. You steal it? What pen are you using? I'll guarantee you stole it. You stole my pen.
I have my own pen, thank you.
Nah. Scott Major is with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7. Scott Major from the Major Paruas law firm here to answer your questions. Love having him on, man. Love having him on. And I get so many compliments when, and by the way, that's not me I'm not blowing smoke, but I'm telling you, Scott, I get so many compliments on you being on the show, and I'm proud to have you.
That's really, really nice. I'm glad that, as you and I talked, I'm glad it's making a difference. I really am.
I feel like it is. And there's so much information that you give and you have. It's also, it gives you a good feeling to know that there's somebody out there that will bust his can to help get people that information and that knowledge. By the way, I'll tell you a couple of things here. You're going to hear him talk, and you're going to understand that he is by far one of the most competent attorneys that you'll ever hear, particularly in this area of expertise. And that's, post-hurricane, dealing with the insurance companies. I'm going to give you his phone number, I'm going to give you his website, and then I'm going to give you his address here in Panama City so that you can go and have a consultation, which, by the way, you can get a consultation 7 days a week. I mean, who else does that? Phone number, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. The website is stormhelpteam.org. And again, you can go to 433 Harrison Avenue and get a consultation 7 days a week. All right? One more number for you. And this one is so that you can get on the air and pick his brain. All right? Don't feel nervous. Don't be intimidated. If you're nice, he will say hugs and kisses you. All right? 850, or give you a donut. 233-9988. 850-233-9988. Already got phones coming in. I'm going to go right to Scott. We're going to start this right off the bat with a phone call. Scott, go ahead. Scott, you're up with Mr. Major. Scott, we're going one more time here. Scotty. Sound like maybe he's traveling. Call back. So okay. Where do you want to start today, Mr. Major? What's going on?
I wanted to talk about people are starting to get some money. What should they do when they get a check in and it's not enough?
Common? I'm sure that's very common.
Exactly. So the first thing that you want to do is find out what the money's for. So you want to make sure that you have, what is this money being paid for? Is it being paid because you have the exact amount of damages on your estimate and they're paying that? Is it a structures payment? Is it a contents payment? Is it an ALE or additional living expenses payment? Is it for your shed on the other structures section or fence? We want to find out what that is because each section of your policy has certain limits, and I want to know where that's coming from. The second thing I want to do is understand, is it for the same amount that I thought it was? Now, as you and I have talked, almost everybody's being paid some unusual number that's less than what they're supposed to be paid. So if that's the case, how do we go about solving that problem? What do we do? Can we cash the check? Should we write the insurance company? So the answer is that the first thing you do is we have to know what it's for. So if you don't know, you write the insurance company, dear insurance company, thank you very much for my $2,600 check. It's unclear. You didn't send a letter with the check, or it's unclear what this is specifically for. Will you please write me in the next 2 business days and tell me exactly what it's for? Love and kisses, you. Or you can pick up a phone and call the desk level adjuster and ask them. If they tell you, you can write them and say, thank you for telling me it's this much. Because if it's insufficient, you need to know why so that you can ask them. You can figure out from them, hey, okay, I need to give you more receipts or more documents, or your number doesn't correlate to an estimate. So that's the first and most important significant thing, is to be able to know this information so we can know what to do. And then the second part is, what do you do with the check? Can you cash it? And generally speaking, the answer is yes, I can cash the check. However, I would never want to cash a check without making sure that the insurance company knows it's not enough. Now, if it's enough, then you cash the check without doing anything. If it's not enough, I want to write the insurance company and say, listen, this check is an insufficient amount. I want to thank you very much for paying me what you can, but this check is going to be treated as a partial payment. You still owe me X or Y or Z for those amounts. Please pay me within 2 days. You need to look at the check itself, because sometimes the check will have on the endorsement section, it'll say this is final payment, this is full payment, you're accepting this is all the payment. You don't want to sign those kinds of checks. Now, companies don't often have that, but you want to look at that. If they're asking you to sign a release, then you don't want to do that without speaking to a professional. So that's a good way to look at how partial payments should be handled.
Yeah, and so if how often does the insurance company send the check and then at some point somewhere say that, well, this is it? You know, if you sign this, cash it, check, or put it in the bank, this is the final payment, etc. Is that a pretty obvious, or is that hidden somewhere?
Sometimes it is on, printed in print on the back or side, backside of the check where you sign it. Oftentimes, the insurance company is assuming that you'll just take this check, presume that you can't get any more money, and give up. Because, as you and I spoke, almost every claim in the Panhandle is closed, right?
Right.
You read the articles. I mean, it's not that we shouldn't believe the media with how accurate they are, but I'm just saying that you hear that all the time, and you and I darkly chuckle about it.
Yeah.
And it's because they sent you a check oftentimes or denied your claim and just assumed that's enough. You're not making any case for any more money. Don't do that. Fight for every dollar you're entitled to.
Look, and I think the other important part to hear and to understand what Scott is saying is, you may be angry, but that doesn't mean that you have to sit down. You don't have to call them up and go, hey, you son of a, you don't have to write a letter and use expletives and all that stuff. And I think he makes a point to say this, sometimes subtly, but I think the point is when he says love and kisses you, it's easy. What is this old saying about honey? You don't have to be angry and upset and boisterous. You're probably going to get, you're probably not going to get as far if you're that way. Let's go to Rex. Rex in Panama City. You're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. I've got a weird variation of a question that y'all had a few weeks ago, where a fella couldn't live in his house and lived in his driveway in an RV that he already owned. And the insurance company paid him $4,000 a month rent for that. My situation is my house got whacked. I went and bought an RV, living in my driveway, and the insurance company paid me the price that I paid for the RV. No problem, because it saved them a lot of money, because they're going to cost them $7,000 a month to put me up in a house. Can I charge them rent for living in the RV since I bought it and they repaid me?
Generally speaking, if they've paid you for the RV, they will not pay you an additional rent on top of that to live in that. However, you can make a claim under Coverage D and say that the owner of the RV is renting it to you, whether that's you or not, and that owner is entitled to get rent, and you have a rent agreement with yourself. You could certainly submit that to the insurance company And some insurance companies will say that wherever you live, we're going to pay for that amount of money. It's unusual for insurance companies to buy you an RV because that's called the betterment concept, and generally insurance companies don't do that. So you've done well by them allowing you to own your own place. But depending on the specific insurance provision that you have, you may be able to submit that as rent because you are simply living in another location other than your home because your home remains uninhabitable. And therefore, if you haven't used up all your ALE, they will allow you, or additional living expenses, they will allow you to do that. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, that makes sense. I just wasn't sure if it was okay to make a lease with myself and if they would just laugh at it when they saw it. It's worth a shot.
Sure. Have a great day and be well.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, get on the phone with Scott, 850-233-9988, 850-233-9988. Yeah, I mean, people have all kinds of questions. I just found out yesterday that my fence in my backyard is going to, its total value is like between $8,000 and $10,000, and I was kind of blown away by that because it's like it's a fence. I mean, it's a fence.
Crazy. You know, it's crazy, and I'll tell you that, you know, the other structures provision, which is what that would cover, you know, oftentimes doesn't have a super lot amount of money on it. So hopefully you don't have many other damages besides that, so you got more than enough money to cover.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, too, our window guy came out the other day, and I was kind of, I guess, I don't know why, but I was kind of shocked by this. Window guy comes out, because we rent our home here. Because, you know, I mean, I get fired a lot. So, no. So, the window guy, the owner paid for the window guy to come out, and he goes, hey, I'm here to look at the windows. And I go, okay. He went to the front of the house, check. Then he's like, can I go to the back? I said, of course. So I go with him, and I'm watching him, and the guy's probably creeping out because I'm watching him because I want to find out what the process is. Looks. Okay, buddy. He was there for probably 5 minutes. And he goes, okay. I said, so did you check it all out? I go, how are the windows in the back? Well, these two right here, you're going to have to redo. You got this, that, and the other thing. The front ones have a little bit of damage, but I think you're going to be okay, blah, blah. I'll see you later. And I could tell this guy, there's no telling how many homes he goes to during the day. And who knows what the estimate was on those windows. Who knows? But it took him literal, I'm not exaggerating, 5 minutes. I said, are you done? He's like, yeah. I go, okay, all right, we'll see you later. I mean, what are you going to do?
That's what these adjusters oftentimes do. And you sit there now that you know what you know, and you sort of comically laugh to yourself and say, there's no way you could have known by just looking at it quickly. I mean, what kind of testing did you do on the window? Did you press the window to see whether or not, you know, the seals were loose? Did you
Nope.
look and at these to see if they're bent? I mean,
nope.
There's of course not. And
no.
It's insane.
He didn't do any of that. I mean, he literally bent down, you know, and was looking around the window. He probably spent 20 seconds maybe on each one, and then he scooted over to the other ones. It was pretty bizarre.
Yeah, if all of them were damaged, you know, and he said, "Oh, it's so obvious," that might be a different story. But to suggest, you know, orally that just by looking at them they're all great is unfortunate. You know, I'll tell you. And you know, with the last caller, I think it's important for people to understand what else could be covered under the additional living expenses, and that's that coverage D, that loss of use. They use that interchangeably, the phrase additional living expenses, or for the cool people, we say ALE.
Right.
They sometimes call it loss of use, coverage D. It covers not only a hotel or compatible dwelling, you know, for the shortest period of time required to repair your property, but it can cover restaurant meals. It can cover utilities if they're more expensive than your home. They can cover temporary, utility costs. They can cover costs of doing laundry. If you don't have a washer and dryer, you got to pay for it. Furniture rental, storage costs, pet boarding.
Furniture rental?
House. I'm sorry?
Furniture rental?
Yes. If you had to rent, at this new place, it's likely to be covered.
Huh.
If you had to take out an insurance policy on that rental home, that could be covered. If you had to pay a credit check fee charged by the managing, by the management company when they were giving you the rental, that may be covered.
Wow.
Cellular phone overtime charges. If you used a landline, which most people don't, but if you did, and now you have to use more cell time. I mean, if you have mileage, we had to drive further, that's covered. If you have, and to go to furniture stores or to get flooring or granite or appliances, or if you had to travel further to go to your place of employment or to go to your children's activities or to go to your church or your synagogue, your temple, your worship, place of worship. There is, every kind of fee that's associated with the rental. If you had a new sewer fee set up or an account setup fee, if you had photocopying and mailing expenses related to the claim, if you had moving costs to move into there,
wow.
If you had carpet cleaning when you're moving out. So
wow.
There's an array of expenses that I guarantee you, in all the time you've been talking, nobody said that.
No,
in all
I was just about to point that out. No, I was just about to point that out, and that's the first time I've heard anybody refer to those things. We got to take a break. That's really interesting. 850-233-9988 to get on the air with Scott Major. To call Scott Major when he gets off the air, 844-800-LAWS. Back with more. Stand by.
This is the Kramer Show. Kramer Show. More to come on News Talk at 101. We're back. This is the Kramer Show on News Talk at 101.
We're back with Scott Major. It is the Kramer Show. Scott Major, an extremely competent attorney on the insurance side. In fact, Scott Major spent, how many years were you on the other side, the dark side?
I was 3 full years representing one of the largest insurance companies in the world as their chief counsel for the country.
Wow. So you know this game. He knows what's going on. And he knows that there is a game to be played. And if you're thinking at this point, 100 days past the storm, that your insurance company, and I hate being this way, but let's just be honest. If you think that the insurance company at this point is on your side and all they want to do is cuddle you and love you and give you sweet little kisses on the cheek, and that they're just going to, they're going to be right with you, holding your hand through the whole thing, you are crazy. That is not the way it's played. It's just not played that way. I don't know. We've been doing this for 100 days, close to. And how many calls have we had that say, I don't know what you guys are talking about. My insurance company came in, and like Scott says sometimes, they backed up a transfer truck, and they opened that booger up. And, man, it was like millions of dollars just came flying out of the back of it. They were so sweet. And they even baked us a hot apple pie, Scott. It was amazing.
They even brought donuts.
They brought donuts. That doesn't happen.
It really is an unfortunate awakening for so many people on 2 grounds. The first ground, obviously, the obvious one, that is that they're not being paid as quickly or as fully as they should be. And the second ground, which you and I are going to start getting to in the coming month, gosh, they didn't have enough insurance, or they didn't have enough coverage for certain things, or they didn't know they needed something called law and ordinance, which when they replace their property and have to raise it up above the floodplain level, or as a result they have to, get impact windows instead of their windows, or special kind of roofing materials, that they have to do that on their own. I mean, that's just awful to compound the problem. Yes, we're the insurance company. We'll pay you everything we have. Unfortunately, that's still not enough because you didn't get the right insurance.
Right. Let's go to Buddy. Buddy, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. I appreciate you taking my call. I live in Lynn Haven, and I had 21 trees on my property that's completely gone, down on my fences, house, everything. So now my yard looks like a desert. Mm-hmm. Is there any way to recoup anything as far as the landscaping goes on that, the property value is so much lower now without any trees, any whatsoever on the property?
Thanks for your call. Generally speaking, things like landscaping, is not covered. That's just a general rule, but you have to look at your insurance policy. But generally speaking, it's not covered. There are some kinds of occasions, depending on what the language of your insurance policy, that you may be able to recover. But as a general rule, they'll cover like sometimes trees and plants and shrubs at a reduced rate. You have to look at your specific policy, but it's really narrow and small coverage. But I would certainly identify, if I were you and any listener out there, I would identify what it would cost to replace these things. And I would send a letter to the insurance company, if I were doing this myself, saying that you want coverage for them. And if they're not going to pay for that, to explain to you, to cite to you the provision in the policy that excludes that. If you were doing it with a public adjuster or with our team or whatever it was, we would obviously look at your policy and help you to draft that kind of letter. But it's important because in some cases, there's some narrow coverage for replanting of trees and shrubs and things like that.
All right, there you go. We got more phones coming up. We're going to take a quick break. I want to let you know his phone number, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. John, Keith, hang on, Richard, Connie, Joey, Bethany, Dennis, Jonathan, all of your phone calls are coming up. Get on the air with Scott Major. More to come.
The Kramer Show will be back in a sec on News Talk at 101. This is The Kramer Show, News Talk at 101.
Scott Major joining us. 850-233-9988. Scott Major of Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team. If you would like to get a consultation, you can do it 7 days a week at 433 Harrison Avenue. 433 Harrison Avenue. Go by, get a consultation from Facebook, Mr. Major. This is from Nicholas. He says, can you ask the attorney what coverages everyone should have? Whether I live on the beach or I live 25 miles inland, are there particular coverages that everybody should have for the accepting of the normal basic coverage? Hopefully my question makes sense.
Sure. In short form, you and I are going to spend a whole couple shows on this, but in short form, you want to first ask yourself, how much does it cost to rebuild my house? If my house was completely my home, my condo, my business, if it had to be completely rebuilt, what would that cost? Go get a contractor, say, I'm going to bulldoze this place. What's it cost? And whatever that number is, you need to get insurance for that amount and find out how much it will cost you to do that. Oftentimes people can get a lot more insurance than they think for complete, renovation. The second thing is you want to make sure that if you have to move out, now that people have experienced that, how much money do I need for all of these items? Not only just the rent, but all the items you and I spoke about. And I want to make sure that that number is going to be sufficient. If I have contents, which is a big, big issue. Most people have very little money in contents. They'll have $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, yet they have something of value, a piece of art, a very expensive piece of furniture, an antique that's worth a lot, a stereo system, home theater system, things which cost thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. If I make sure that I have sufficient coverage there to replace the items which I think are going to be potentially damaged, and in good shape there. In terms of other structures, if I have a fence, or I have a shed, or I have a pool, or I have other items, I have trees that might fall, I have landscaping needs, what I want to do is make sure I have coverage for that, or ask the agent how to maximize recovery on those things. What will it cost me to do that? This way, if I have a loss, whether it's a big storm or a small one, I will be maximizing my ability to get remuneration, to get paid if in fact I have a loss. That's a good start there.
Let's skip to. I thought we had John in Lynn Haven. If we have to put you on hold for just a moment, don't freak out and hang up. We're going to get to everybody eventually. And I think it's interesting that a lot of people here were underinsured. A lot of people, and we say this often too, that people don't really even know what's in their policy. They don't know what they do have or what they don't have. And you would think you would want to make sure that you have everything that you need in case something like this happens ever again. So if you made a mistake the first time, for certain, don't let it happen again.
Yeah, I mean, you need a cryptographer, a physicist, and a whole lot of food to sit down and figure out what most of these policies read. You and I make the joke that if you ask 10 lawyers, to understand and tell you the inclusions and exclusions on the policy, 10 of them would not be able to accurately tell you that. It's a very cryptic document. It's like trying to read your auto insurance policy, which no one also reads. So it's important to make sure you have that. And things like law and ordinance, things like code upgrade, those phrases that say, if I have to replace something and the code says I got to do it, more, replace those with a better quality thing. If I don't have that coverage, I can't get those monies, and that's a huge thing.
Is there a point where an insurance company insures someone and they're liable in any form, or is that naive of a question?
No, not at all. It depends on what representations were made to you. If you weren't told about certain coverages that a reasonable person in that position should have told you, they can have exposure. I'm hoping that all the wonderful agents and brokers who sold these insurance policies explained to everyone the pros and cons, and you chose your insurance based on a smart analysis given to you by that professional. But if not, and we see this a lot, people just selling a basic insurance policy and not explaining things, or selling a lesser expensive one without explaining what that risk looks like, they have exposure and they have liability. And again, we're just trying to make sure that each of you, each of the listeners in a business, in a home, are protected. I mean, if you take a business, for example, Kramer, you can have what's called a holding period. So once I have a loss, like business interruption, we have lots of places that are destroyed. They're not making their profits. Well, if you didn't read your insurance policy, it might say you have to lose money for 90 straight days before we're paying you, or 30 days, or 10 days. Obviously, the shorter the period of time, the much better you're off. If you asked 1,000 people if they even knew what that clause was, 1,006 would tell you that they have no idea. So You have to pay attention to what the coverage is. And that's why it's so important. You and I have talked repeatedly about how important it is that you get professionals to look at what policy you do have so that you do maximize coverage and you do get money for those restaurant meals or that extra mileage or those other things, and you make sure that the insurance company is properly paying you under each coverage. Because if they pay under the wrong coverage, they can eat away at a limit that, would otherwise be under another claim. So if they pay you under the coverage A structures and they pay you for your loss of use, maybe you run out of money. And that should have been, the loss of use should have been under the coverage D, not A. So it's just important to understand these things. And it's tragic that these things are so complicated, but that's why you and I are here, to share with the audience everything we can to empower them and make them understand that they have more rights than they think.
Wow. So when you sit down with the insurance company, you should be wary of the idea that they may exclude things in order to make your premium cheaper so that you give them your business. So if you're not an insurance person, how are you going to know? I mean,
You wouldn't.
I just that really, seriously, Scott, that baffles me.
How many people have ever heard of the phrase law and ordinance?
No.
Or code upgrade. Nobody. Even the people that know it call me on the phone. Even public adjusters, even expert lawyers call me on the phone and say, what is this? How much does it cover? What I'm telling you is that you need to sit down as a layperson and figure out what it is you need to rebuild. And then you need to talk to a professional. And if you don't understand what insurance to get, then dial 844-800-LAWS and say, Scott, this is my home or this is my business. I need you to work with my agent and talk to him and ask him the questions that I need to know. Happy to do it. Or if you want me to come and do a seminar and explain at the Chamber of Commerce or anything else, here is every provision you must have in a policy and you shouldn't go cheap on, and here's the ones that are optional that you can avoid. Happy to do that. We need to empower our audience as much as possible.
That's really important. If you got stuck, in this storm and found out that your insurance was not up to snuff and it was not going to cover enough to make you whole, and it's caused you grief and stress and pain and everything else, man, next time have somebody that knows what they're doing. Look, insurance is not one of those things that everybody sits around reading about all the time. It's not, it's not top of the brain stuff. Well, maybe it is now here, but typically not.
Right, nor should it be. And I'll tell you, again, you and I said this, name me a person who has been on your show, who has professed to be expertise, who has sat and explained these critical components of what you need to have. And it's so important for us to educate because there will be another storm. Listen, there have been rain events during the time since the hurricane. There's going to be more, quote, rain events or a tornado or other types of floods and things. You need to know what your rights are so that you can make really good decisions. I mean, that's so important.
Let me skip to Pete. Pete's in Callaway. Hold on a second. Pete, you're up with Scott Major from the Major Paruas and the Storm Help Team. Go ahead.
Appreciate it very much. Hey, given the fact that we know what we know now about the insurance company we may be dealing with, when is the right time or is there a wrong time to switch insurance companies?
I think the first thing you need to ask yourself is your insurance company doing what you believe they should be doing? If they're not, then I would start shopping for new insurance now, and once you get your full payment, or you realize you have to hire a lawyer and you're not going to get your full payment, I would switch insurance companies. But I think the first thing to do is to find out, is your insurance company not paying you because you didn't successfully articulate everything you need to know? Just getting an estimate from a general contractor or a public adjuster may not be enough. It may mean that you need to explain the differences between what the insurance company is paying for and what your new estimate says. And maybe once you explain that, they'll go, okay, we'll pay you that amount. I've had that happen 500 times, where you get on the phone with the desk level adjuster and you say, tell me where my estimate is wrong. Explain to me. I'm the lawyer. I don't want to sue you. Explain to me that. And sometimes they'll say, well, the reason why we're not paying that is because we just don't have good enough pictures. Or your estimate doesn't explain why these items, really need to be fixed or replaced instead of repaired. So first exhaust the angle of, I'm going to assume they're good. I'm going to assume they're going to be honorable. I need to make sure I have the communication where they have written me and said, we are not paying you anything for these 4 reasons, and they're unreasonable before you jump ship. But there are lots of good insurance companies that will pay depending upon the type of claim you have. But if you get the right insurance and you're smart about it, chances are you will be more likely to be paid than not.
Does switching let them off the hook?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No. If you switch tomorrow, if you said, I'm never getting insurance again, or I'm getting $1 billion in insurance, They have an insurance contract. That contract says you must pay for all losses. So if you were very upset with your insurance company, you said, I want to go to another company, you can go tomorrow. It absolutely has no impact whatsoever. None. In some cases, the insurance company may be happy that you left. They won't tell you that. But I can tell you that every insurance company I know would love to insure a property that's been completely rebuilt, would love to insure your roof when it was completely rebuilt, would love to reinsure your windows and your carpet that just got replaced, and your structure that's now withstanding 160 mile an hour winds instead of 100 miles an hour or less. So most of them,
right?
I tell this all the time to people. You can really negotiate for lower rates, and I tell entire neighborhoods, condo associations, people, let me help shop. I don't make a dime for this. Let me help get the right professionals to shop your rate now that you've fixed your property, because there's less risk to them. And that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother hour.
Thank you very much.
Sure, anytime, pal. Hope it's helping.
Thank you, Pete. 844-800-LAWS. We're going to take a break, but that's the number to call. 844-800-LAWS. And you can also go to 433 Harrison Avenue. You can go in. You can get a consultation. That's 7 days a week. Stormhelpteam.org. More with Scott Major. Coming up. Stand by.
This is the Kramer Show. More to come on News Talk at 101.
We roll on. It's News Talk at 101. Scott Major on with us this morning. Scott Major and his team, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. The initial consultation, absolutely free, 433 Harrison Avenue, 7 days a week. Go get that done. At this point, I would think if you're having some kind of difficulty, which most people are, with the insurance company, sitting down with someone over there and just talking or calling up the number and talking to Scott or going through that process would be extremely beneficial because, as you can tell, I mean, he wants to help out. That's why we do the hour on the air, is so that you can call up and pick his brain and ask questions live. But I think that not only will the one person singularly get the help, I'm sure for every call, there's probably 10 people out there that have the same question. They just haven't asked.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's amazing how much information people need to assimilate or how similar the problems are. And you and I talk about this. This is why Neighbors Helping Neighbors works. This is why getting multiple condo associations together works. This is why getting all businesses on a block works, because you all do have common issues. And some insurance companies pay very quickly for some things and don't pay for others. So if I know that insurance company A is paying for this kind of roof system, but the one next door is insured by insurance company B and they don't, I can leverage that for you guys. Take advantage of it.
Well, that's the deal, right? So people need to, if you have a church group, if you have whatever, I mean, you have a social group, if you have your neighbors, you can all pull together, and that really does help out, and it goes a long way. Also, just calling up and asking Scott to come and speak to your condo association, to speak to your group, to answer questions, hugely helpful. That's something that people, too, can call up and schedule with you. Is that right?
Yes, and I can't tell you how many times people have thanked me for saying, wow, you educated us and answered specific and general questions about everything from what to do now to new insurance issues to even managing your existing, restoration company or general contractor or helping your adjuster to get more money. Whatever the case is, I mean, we need to work together. I mean, I've worked with hundreds of adjusters over time, and they often call me because I can litigate. I can sue. I have a good reputation. The insurance companies take me seriously. This is about working together, 850 strong, and getting everybody all of the money they want now, not 6 months from now.
Well, do you actually? I know that a public adjuster will go out and they'll actually spend time at a property talking to the insurance adjuster, and they'll send somebody out. Once you get on the phone, do you ever set up meetings with an adjuster from the insurance company and go out in the field and haggle and do all that negotiating, or is it more through?
No one talks. No one talks to desk level adjusters more than I do. No one. I challenge anybody to come on air and tell you that they talk to us. That's the whole key, is to establish the communication and find out what they need in order for you to maximize the dollars. And if it means going out and re-inspecting the property, and let's do it. If you want to bring your experts and I bring mine, great. Let's do it. I'll go out to those properties and we'll examine why it is that you should be paying more. And remember, a lot of these desk level adjusters, they have no idea who the person is who went out there. The company sent out some guy who was a bartender beforehand, or maybe he was adjuster beforehand, and now he's no longer even on the case. He doesn't even work for the company anymore. So the desk level adjuster may just be given insufficient information, and maybe it's just about educating them, and they go, oh my goodness, you're right. I'll pay you more. I can't tell you how many calls I've had where people say, the adjuster says, well, how much money do you want, Mr. Major? Just tell me and show me and support it, and I'll help you out. Amazing.
Yeah. So you talk to these people when you go out and actually face to face?
Yeah, I'll talk to them in person. I'll talk to them on my phone. Listen, remember, I used to train a lot of these people. I know what they're looking for. I know if there's a problem, just tell me. Most of those desk level adjusters are not fighting with you. They're trying to close their claims, but they need sufficient data and explanation why it is that there is a problem. But the person who goes out to the property won't be the desk level adjuster. It'll be a field adjuster. Sometimes desk levels go out there, but very rarely. So you're oftentimes talking to more than one person. But the person who's documenting it is that desk level, that person who's sitting at a desk and who is inputting data based on what they receive. The more you educate them, the more you explain to them, well, tell me why you don't want to pay for this or what you need to support that. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
I'm sure once they know that you're coming, that they're not going to send out the doofus who,
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it escalates to some other level. Scott Major.
That's great.
844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS, stormhelpteam.org, and the address to go by for a consultation is 433 Harrison Avenue. Love this hour. Scott, appreciate you so much for being on. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for all you do for the community. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, pal.
You have a great day. I'll talk to you soon, bud. Bye-bye.
You will. Bye-bye.